In the dead of winter, December 1944, the Ardennes forest was a scene of desperation. The German army had launched a surprise offensive, known today as the Battle of the Bulge. They smashed through the American lines, creating a massive bulge in the Allied front. At the heart of this bulge, surrounded and besieged, was the American 101st Airborne Division in the crucial town of Bastogne. Their situation was grim. They were running low on ammunition, food, and medical supplies, battling not just the Germans, but also the freezing cold. On December 19th, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Allied Commander, called an urgent meeting at his headquarters in Verdun. The mood was tense. The German advance was a major crisis. Eisenhower gathered his top commanders, General Omar Bradley, General George S. Patton, and several others. He looked at them and asked, "What's our plan?" The room was quiet for a moment. Then, Patton, ever the showman, stood up. He confidently declared that he could disengage 3 of his divisions from their current fight, pivot them 90 degrees, and march them over 100 miles north to relieve Bastogne. The other generals were stunned. What Patton was proposing seemed impossible. Moving that many troops and all their equipment in the middle of a brutal winter, over icy roads, and while still engaged with the enemy, was a logistical nightmare. Some thought he was bluffing, just trying to grab the spotlight. Eisenhower, ever the pragmatist, turned to Patton and said, "George, when can you start?" "Without missing a beat," Patton replied. "As soon as you're done with me." In reality, Patton had already anticipated this move. He had his staff working on contingency plans for this exact scenario days before the meeting. He wasn't just boasting, he was prepared. He promised he could attack on December 22nd, just 3 days later. While Patton was preparing his audacious rescue mission, the soldiers of the 101st Airborne were holding on by a thread. The German commander sent a message to the American commander in Bastogne, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, demanding their surrender. McAuliffe's now famous reply was a single word: nuts. This defiant response became a symbol of American resolve, but defiance alone couldn't win the battle. They needed help, and they needed it fast. The weather was so bad that Allied planes couldn't fly to airdrop supplies. The defenders of Bastogne were truly on their own, counting the hours until help arrived. Patton's Third Army began its historic march. The conditions were horrific. Snow, ice, and fog made the roads treacherous. Tanks slid off the roads, trucks broke down, and soldiers suffered from frostbite. But they pushed on relentlessly. Patton was everywhere, urging his men forward, a whirlwind of energy and determination. He famously even ordered his chaplain to write a prayer for good weather, and miraculously, the weather did clear up for a crucial period, allowing Allied air power to support the ground troops and resupply the 101st. On December 26th, the lead elements of Patton's 4th Armored Division finally broke through the German lines and reached Bastogne. The siege was lifted, the 101st Airborne was saved. It was one of the most remarkable feats of military logistics and leadership in history. Patton had done what many thought was impossible. He had moved over 133,000 vehicles and hundreds of thousands of men in record time to turn the tide of the battle. So, what did General Omar Bradley, Patton's superior and a man known for his cautious, methodical nature, have to say about this? Bradley and Patton had a complicated relationship. They were friends, but also rivals. Bradley often found Patton's flamboyance and impulsiveness difficult to manage. He was the steady hand, while Patton was the lightning bolt. In his memoirs, A Soldier's Story, Bradley recounted the Verdun meeting. He admitted to being skeptical of Patton's bold claim. He wrote that he and the other generals were dumbfounded by Patton's immediate readiness. Bradley described the moment Patton laid out his plan. He acknowledged the audacity and brilliance of it, but Bradley's public praise was often measured, sometimes even seemingly grudging. He was more of an institutional man, focused on the overall strategy and the coordination of the entire front. Patton's individualistic, headline-grabbing style often clashed with Bradley's more reserved personality. However, behind the scenes, and in later reflections, Bradley's true assessment was clear. He recognized Patton's genius. In one of his writings, Bradley stated, "George Patton was the most brilliant commander of an army in the open field that I have ever known." This wasn't just a casual compliment. Coming from a man as careful and deliberate as Bradley, it was the highest praise. He understood that, while he, Bradley, was the master planner and strategist for the whole campaign, Patton was the master tactician, the one who could execute those plans on the battlefield with unparalleled speed and aggression. After the relief of Bastogne, Bradley visited Patton's headquarters. While there might not be a single dramatic quote like "You saved us all," their interactions showed a deep professional respect. Bradley's official reports and communications acknowledged the critical role of the Third Army. He knew that Patton's swift action had prevented a much larger disaster. The relief of Bastogne didn't just save the 101st Airborne. It stabilized the entire Allied line and marked the beginning of the end for the German offensive. Bradley's perspective is crucial because it puts Patton's actions into a broader strategic context. Patton's charge was not a rogue operation. It was a vital part of the larger Allied response, orchestrated by Eisenhower and managed by Bradley. Bradley's job was to see the whole chessboard, and from that vantage point, he saw Patton's move not just as a daring gamble, but as a calculated and necessary strike that paid off magnificently. So, what did Bradley say? He didn't shower Patton with flowery praise in public. That wasn't his style. Instead, his recognition came in the form of professional respect, official commendations, and the later, more reflective acknowledgement of Patton's unique battlefield genius. He recognized that while they were very different men with very different styles, they were both essential to the Allied victory. Patton was the spearhead, the unstoppable force of nature, and Bradley was the steady hand on the tiller, guiding the entire war machine. The story of Bastogne is often told as a story of two heroes, McAuliffe's defiant stand and Patton's dramatic rescue. But it's also a story of command and cooperation, of different leadership styles coming together to achieve a common goal. General Bradley's quiet, professional acknowledgement of Patton's success is a testament to this. He saw the big picture and knew that Patton's brilliant, aggressive maneuver was exactly what was needed at that critical moment. It was a partnership, however rocky at times, that helped win the war. In the end, Bradley's quiet words of respect for his most flamboyant general speak volumes about the true nature of their relationship and the incredible feat they accomplished together. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this look into military history, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories like this one. See you next time.